Ghostbusters is directed by the late great Ivan Reitman and is written by Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Rick Moranis. Three parapsychologists forced out of their university funding set up shop at a unique ghost removal service in New York City, attracting frightened yet skeptical customers. The film stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Sigourney Weaver, Ernie Hudson, Andy Potts, and Rick Moranis, and all these cast members are excellent in their roles, whether they're in a lot of the film or they're a small supporting part. They all are iconic and give so much personality to their characters. Peter Venkman, Raymond Stantz, and Egon Spengler are one of the best trio of characters I've seen in the film. These guys have so much chemistry. Their banter back and forth is very compelling, funny. We understand each of these characters right off the bat in their first hunt for a ghost, and they just ooze so much charisma, and their dialogue is excellent. I mean, not a single moment in this film felt out of place for these characters to say. Everything felt like it was all written specifically for these characters. Ernie Hudson, as the guy who comes in to look for a job, is also immediately likable, as he's just some dude just trying to look for a good payday. But then he becomes more invested in the job as he hangs out more with Ghostbusters, which gives him a lot more personality by the end, has him go through a complete character arc, and he just becomes one of the more likable characters in the entire film. Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis are also really good, though they are more supporting characters and don't share as much screen time with the Ghostbusters. They are still really fun, really compelling, a little bit more simple, but that's what also makes them so likable. Not every character here needs to have so much depth. Sigourney Weaver's character is just trying to get rid of this ghost, and then immediately becomes part of something bigger than herself, which gets her closer to Peter Venkman, which creates a good relationship that slowly builds throughout the film. You understand who they are as people, what they want in life. You can tell that they really care for one another off the bat, even though Peter starts off as a bit of a womanizer. As the film goes on, he slowly starts to actually form feelings for her, and that dry, sarcastic personality that he had whenever he's around her slowly deteriorates. And I really like how that relationship gives Peter a lot more depth as a character, and it gives Sigourney Weaver also a lot to do as an actress, as she has to pretend to be scared and also try to be caring, nonchalant with her neighbor. She has a lot going on, and we learn a lot about her personal life, as she is basically the first customer of the Ghostbusters, which makes this entire mission all the more personal, as she is the first hint of something bigger that's going to form throughout the rest of the film. As for the visual effects, I think they hold up pretty well. There are a few stop motion effects that don't hold up due to you telling that it is just a stop motion effect, and the actual people around the stop motion is moving a lot more fluid than stop motion itself. It was a mix of practical effects and real life that just didn't always mesh well, even for other films in the 80s and 70s, at least for the most part. Here, I think it is still a problem, but it's a rarity here. It still implements many good visual effects here, but it also has a lot more practical effects than stop motion. Stop motion is there to help with the movement of the animal or ghosts, and the practical effects are the effects that are most utilized to help you feel like these things are really happening, that these ghosts are actually real right in front of you, and they still look absolutely incredible even to this day. The visual effects are, I wouldn't say ahead of its time, but they are definitely still effects that should be implemented in other films today, as a lot of bad CGI is now going around, and we need a lot more realistic effects like this. And even though there are some shots that could have been implemented a little bit better, for the most part, the visual effects and practical effects still hold up very well. As for the music, it is iconic. There's a bunch of songs in this soundtrack that is going to get you in a great mood dancing around, and it fits the fun tone that this movie is trying to go for. As for the score itself, it is really good. It is not as iconic as the songs implemented in the film, but it works to create a lot of atmosphere and tension in the film, and I think for the most part, this serves its purpose pretty well. Though Ray Parker's theme is definitely the most iconic piece in the soundtrack, and there's a reason why. Not only is it just the name Ghostbusters, the song itself has a nice funky tone that is so 80s, I love it. I just love that entire song. I've always listened to it, even when I don't watch as much Ghostbusters as I guess some other people do. This song itself is the one that I've always jammed to a lot as a kid, and I always loved it. And as for Ivan Reitman's directing, it is solid. I love the way he's able to direct these characters, have them act the way they do, have us be engrossed in this story and be invested, and overall, his sense of imagination here is fantastic. There's so much here that is done creatively that I didn't think this movie was able to pull off even back then. Despite the budget it had, I think it was able to do a whole lot and feel a lot bigger than most movies even today do. The overall sense of scope and scale that this entire final act has, especially with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, is fantastic, and it is great directing in his part, and how he's able to have us care for the characters, understand them throughout the rest of the film, have us easily follow them on this journey to be people who just become big celebrities and then eventually important heroes for the city. I think Ivan Reitman was able to capture all that perfectly, and I think he is the star of this film. His directing is absolutely solid, as well as writing by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd. You could tell that this is a project that they were very passionate about, because all the dialogue, as I said, that was given to these characters came from these guys who also acted in the film, and you could tell that they just want to have a good time with their friends, create a fun ghost film for people to watch, and it really shows on screen in each and every frame. There's always something fun going on. No scene felt boring or like filler to just pad out the runtime. This felt like the perfect runtime, the perfect pacing. Everything flowed very well. It all felt like it was coming from one creative. It all basically felt like it was coming from one creative vision, and I love that. Ghostbusters still holds up very well. It's not a perfect film. It is a bit dated in places, but for the most part, the script, the visual effects, the cast and characters, the writing and directing, it is still all solid with a very fun soundtrack involved, and I can still see people even today get very into Ghostbusters, at least the original. It is still considered the best. In my opinion, it is still the best Ghostbusters film, and I don't think it's going to be top for quite a while. I'm going to give Ghostbusters an A. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.